Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Everybody, it's Tuesday night. I'm Kevin. As always, I'm joined by Tony has 9 fingers.
What is going on? I was waiting for my face.
That's okay. And it's been a long time since we've seen him, but we have the 13th Wolfman back in the house. What's up, Wolfie?
Oh, everybody.
That's right. And
Yeah.
Tony, would you like to introduce our very special guest? You hooked this one up.
Sure. From the movie Final Summer, which I think everyone will enjoy when they watch it, we have director John Isberg.
Yo.
And actress Jenna, I'm going to mess up your last name, Kohn?
That's correct, yes.
Oh, look at that.
Okay.
And yeah, she's not on video, so I'm just going to leave it on her for the whole show.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. So yeah, myself and Wolfie we just finished the movie, and two things right off the bat. It looks awesome, like it looks beautiful,
Thank you.
and it also was just it was just really fun. Like I enjoyed it a lot. Like someone was like messaging me, asking me to bust up, and I was like, I'm watching a movie. Usually I'll respond. I'm like, I'm watching a movie for tonight. And like, what is it? I'm like, it's good. It's fun. And
Nice.
so you're a cinematographer as well. So
Yes.
did you do any of that with this
Oh, yeah.
this movie? Because you wrote and directed it and
Yeah.
cinematographer.
Yep.
Jeez,
Shot.
leave a job for someone else.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, this go a little bit. Maybe we have the trailer for it that we'll play later on in the show. But do you want to give a little synopsis or something for the listeners?
Yeah. So it's just kind of like a throwback slasher to the some of my favorite slashers of the 80s. I kind of wanted it to be like, what if you were really in a slasher movie, and so not, I don't know. Sorry, it's been a long day.
Okay, I hear you. It's been a long day for me too.
And then also, I kind of wanted it to feel like a kind of like a long lost 80s slasher franchise. So like from the poster to the movie to the end credits song, I wanted to feel like you're like, why have I never heard of this kind of
Right.
And so that, and then there's
said it in 91.
right. Yeah.
Still, I mean that's good enough. It's far enough.
It's like, what was some of the other ones, like Popcorn, and there's a few others that were like 80. I feel like 89 to 91 had like this weird era.
I'm just being a smart ass, man.
Oh yeah, no. Like, have you seen like Return to Horror High at all? That one with
Yep.
George Clooney and Roy Wagner. Yeah, that was a fun one too. But
I haven't seen that one.
you haven't seen that one?
No, I'm.
It even has Marie McCormick from the Brady Bunch.
That's
in it.
right.
Oh snap!
She's kind of this crazy like police officer. Like she's like really a little bit too into the blood and guts, and the crime scene.
I gotta track that down. What's it called?
Return to Horror High.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll track that one down.
It's kind of interesting.
Sounds up my alley.
It's like almost like a meta. It's like a pre-Scream in a way. It's like there's like a movie set, and so
In a way, yeah.
yeah. So kind of like it's interesting how sometimes you're like, are you in the movie or are you in the movie in the movie?
Right.
So it's kind of fun.
That's cool. But you were inspired by those kind of movies to make something that, and it takes place in a camp.
Yeah,
So
That's the one thing that drew me to it, because everybody usually asks, they're like, what kind of setting do you like? At first, it's always like, what genre do you like, or subgenre, but then it's always like, what kind of setting do you like in a horror movie? And for some reason, ever since like Sleepaway Camp and Friday the 13th and stuff like that, it was always that camp feel to it, because it's like everybody, I'm sure at some point in time, has been to some kind of sleepaway camp or summer camp kind of deal.
Not me.
Okay, well, maybe
Have
not
you guys
everyone.
have you guys ever been to summer camp before?
No.
I've been to it was like a religious camp,
Oh, me
Oh,
too.
jeez.
Yeah, me too.
but it's one of those things where most people except for Kevin have been to a camp at some
That's not
point,
true,
so
man.
you
There's a
know the
lot of
setting.
people that haven't done sleepaway
I
camps.
don't know, but
Well, the reason I didn't go is because my parents were poor, and they couldn't afford to pay to send me to camp. So instead, they would
Well,
just go to work and like, all right, be home when it's dark. And then I'm like, all right, cool.
Go pitch
7.
Go pitch your tent in the park, man. You'll figure it out.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I legit like didn't go camping at all until I was like, in high school, probably.
It's interesting.
So, yeah.
I will thank you for something, man, about this movie. I was worried that you were going to go down the cheeseball route, and make this just a comedy.
Yeah.
Thank God you didn't. There was actually some true atmosphere to this film, and that's the one thing that I look forward to in like horror. I just want to be. I've been watching horror since I was 5. I want to be creeped out. I want someone to just go. I'm kind of sick of the whole. Hey, let's take a jab at it. Let's make it funny. Fuck that.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way because I was like when Freaky came out, I was like, okay, or I liked Final Girls, but I just wanted to go back to like a true fun like The Prowler or Madman or The Burning or something like that. And I feel like because it's like I was like a kid growing up in the 80s, and so that was what I kind of loved. But then Scream came out.
I was a teenager in the 80s, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're old.
Yeah, and I think like when Scream came out, it's like I just remember everything kind of went meta for like 10 years, and then now it's like if they do a slasher film, it's like it has to be a horror comedy. But I don't
believe that there's such a thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've had this conversation.
No, there is.
But what about Lost Boys?
No, I look at it this way. In my eyes, it's comedy or it's horror.
Right.
If it could be a movie that's a comedy that has horror elements in it, but it's still a comedy because it's made to make you laugh.
Right.
That's
no, not necessarily.
That's my thought, dude. I'm
not going to argue it. Yeah. No. It's there's like me myself, like as the person I am, like whenever I'm in an uncomfortable situation, I try to bring humor into it. So I think of it as that way. These people are freaking out, so they're just going to be funny about it. Like if it's like a stupid thing where there's like a bonk sound when someone gets hit in the head, then that's a different story. But if it's like somewhere where someone's just being trying to be inappropriately funny, then that's realistic to me. But either the one thing, just enough off of that. But the one thing that I liked about this one too, and this is a curse that I think Wolfie and Tony and I and most horror fans have, is that we're trying to figure out the movie as it's happening. And I found myself not even trying.
Sometimes I do.
Right.
But I don't try.
My mind wasn't even going that. Like it wasn't even going like, all right, this is the person who's the killer. This is this person. It didn't even dawn on me. Like I was trying to just like enjoy the movie. So
that's cool. Nice. Yeah, thanks.
I knew some of the people that weren't the killer. That's the thing. And then who it was?
They were dead.
I just wait. Yeah. They were.
Yeah. Pretty quickly. I knew the little kid on the stretcher wasn't the killer.
Yeah, he's probably he's gonna come back in the third reel and just kill him, like pull the mask off.
It could.
It's like he's suddenly,
especially when he shows up in the third. Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say that. I'm like, yeah, especially when he shows up in the final act and he's like 6 feet tall. It's like, yeah.
Well, it's funny. That was
stilts,
that was my son, and that was like the quietest and like most like kind of focused I've ever seen. So he was kind of wild to.
That's cool.
It was kind of cool to see him act with like Tom Matthews and stuff, but it was kind of funny, I mean, I just remember doing the scene where they walk up to him. It was kind of tough because I was like, all right, you want to go over here, and I started to get really emotional, and I'm like, all right, hold on. I wasn't expecting that at all because I just yelled at like the whole crew to like hurry up and move their ass. So it was kind of funny.
Anyway. I have a question about the flashback.
Mm-hmm.
So. In the flashback, Jenna's, I think it's Jenna's, Lexi is walking along with her little brother, and there's a flash on a signpost or on a post that shows the Bowery Boys.
Yeah. You know those guys?
Is that a real band?
Huh? Yeah. Those are all bands from Champaign.
Well, that's also the name. That's also the name of a 1940s.
Right.
Group.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking. I'm like, Leo Gorcey, Hunts Hall, Bobby Jordan,
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure that they were influenced by the cool sounding name.
Probably.
Just like there's a lot of bands like that, like you may not like them, but
well,
like
it was
Dillinger
a flash
Escape
on
Plan,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of
there was a
'cause lot
flash on it, and I was going to go back and look at the picture and see if it was actually the picture from the group from the 40s.
right.
You know, but I didn't have time, and so I thought I'd just ask.
Just ask. Yeah. So we touched on acting a little bit. I don't want to ignore her just because her face isn't here. But Jenna, you were awesome. And how did you come to be part of this? Like, have you worked with John before, or is this something where you it was a new thing?
So this was the first time I ever really worked on a film with John. Well, that's a lie.
Okay.
We did a short film. We did, but I mean, like, when I was a part of this film, when we first started working on it, that was the first time that we started working together. And I believe he had like posted something about the film and the script and what he was planning to do. You were actually planning to film it summer of 2020, and then it all fell apart.
Yeah.
And so we've been talking about this, and I've been connected since. I feel like spring or probably like early 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it just had been like little things, like talking about it and building it until it actually came to filming.
That's awesome. So have you done much like outside? Like I saw your credits on IMDb, but like, were you like a theater actor at all, or?
Yeah, I actually studied acting at UIUC, which is the college in the area that we filmed this. And so my ultimate goal is acting, and so that's what I'm planning to do more of in the future. But this was like my first feature.
Nice. Well, it didn't show because you were.
Are you
pretty
a horror
awesome.
fan?
I'm
Loaded question.
I'm not super into horror. Like, I don't know a lot of the older stuff, but I got more into because of the role. And I watched a lot of the things that I know, John, you referenced with the character. So, like, I watched Alien, and what else was there? I know I watched Cabin in the Woods. There's like a bunch of other Scream, So I got more into it.
That's cool.
But that's the thing. Like, some people
No,
we've had on, they're like, I never got into horror. I never, I don't really like horror. But here's a question for you. Now that you've been and acted in a horror movie, is that something you do again? Or is it like, okay, it's one and done, I want to go a different route?
No, okay. I loved acting in this because it was just it felt like acting for theater. There's a lot of like, in film, you have to be super kind of muted and naturalistic, but with horror, it was like you got to kind of go to the extreme. So it was a lot of fun. I would definitely do it again, and it wasn't a scary experience at all. It was just a lot of like, I would say it was probably funnier and more fun than scary.
Yeah. I've been on one like real movie set, and it was pretty. Everyone was just like laying back, like being like hanging out, like doing nothing. Like it was, but it was fun. It was still cool. Everyone was talking with each other until the director told you to shut up, and then it was different. But just real quick, Sergio's in the chat over on YouTube, and he wants to say hi to everyone. Hello, Sergio.
Sergio, what's up?
Sergio's the man. He knows this. So you mentioned before, like Wolfie and Tony, a lot of the actresses that we have on the show aren't big horror fans. And some of them, it's legit. The reason why is because it scares them, which is, that's cool. Like you mentioned Scream, and I was supposed to start a new podcast with someone from the movie Scream, which, by the way, I've never seen Scream. That was going to be part of the show. I was going to watch it as a first time thing. But she's afraid of horror. It's Nancy Ann Ritter. She was one of the girls in the bathroom that was talking junk. And it looks like that may have fallen apart, which stinks because I was looking forward to it. But we were going to school her on horror. And but she's in Scream, which is like a huge influence to a lot of people. And she's like, I don't watch horror at all because it scares me. I'm like, well, it's doing its job. That's awesome. It's like if you watch a drama and you cry, it did its job. That's great.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the plan with this? Like, you know, as far as like distribution and stuff like that, where's it going to be?
Yeah, we just got distribution in December, and right now our distributor is actually at the Berlinale, like the EFM, European Film Market this week. And I know there's a couple, like a UK distributor and a few others, because it's kind of like they're a small distributor, but then they have all these sub-distributors that they work with too. And so, and it's just been an education, because like I went to AFM in November to talk to other distributors, and it was such a weird, surreal, you know, like the most LA experience I've ever had. You know, like in these pitch meetings with guys with like hair slicked back, and it was just like, I think at one point,
salesman, basically.
Oh, totally. I felt like I was talking to like the Colonel from like Boogie Nights at one point.
Oh, nice.
It was just super weird. And I remember I talked to a couple of distributors that I was really interested in, and one who actually, I worked on several films that they put out, and some of my friends, like they put out their films. And so I went in, and I think they just thought I was nuts, because I walked in like, hey, I worked on that film and blah, blah, blah. And I tried to pitch them my film, and they just looked at me like I was crazy. And then we signed distro. And then like 2 weeks ago, they came to like, hey, are you looking for anybody for World? I was like, you know, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Now you're going to call? You're going to now? Like, come on, man. So it was just kind of funny, but it's just been an education, you know?
Yeah.
But basically,
I only ask one thing. Please, if it does come to distribution, I want it on Blu-ray, Sam, man.
Oh, me too. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because,
as you can see, Tony and Kevin and myself, we're all big physical media, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys more so than me as the last bunch of years, but I'm very picky and choosy about what I grab now, as opposed to before I would just be going to Best Buy on release day and being like, this is new, I'll grab it. Right. But I've never watched it, you know.
I just bought like an Arrow video, like Death Screams on Blu-ray, and I love like all of the, because I love, especially for like regional horror, because there's just so much, like there's director's commentary and then behind the scenes making of, and I think that's just really fascinating to see.
You don't get that on streaming. Like Tony brings that up all the time. It's something you don't get on streaming. And just totally not like on the subject of what we're talking about. We were talking about it before the show. I was mentioning that I went to the archive, and one cool thing with that place, if anyone else has a chance to go there, that's Vinegar Syndrome's store. But it's not just Vinegar Syndrome. They have a whole section of Arrow. They have a whole section of Troma. Like they even have a Mill Creek section, which I thought was weird. It's nothing but Mill Creek
and Blue Underground and everything.
Yeah, they have everything there. So it's not just like, we're the fancy guys in town, we're going to ignore you. The only brand I didn't really see there or distribute company was Scream Factory or Shell Factory. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It would be cool. It'd be cool to go into a store and be able to find the movie on the shelf, you know?
Oh yeah.
So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, no, I would like that too, because like I talked to other people, like Scream Team releasing early on, and then I think Wild Eye was another one, and just kind of seeing, because the weird thing with like distribution is it's changing so much. So like, for example, like Redbox is like kind of taking the place of Blockbuster back in the day, and so Redbox you can get like a good amount, you know, hopefully you get like an MG from them or something. But it's like now with like Redbox is kind of going away, because it's just become so much more streaming, and so I think. I don't know. I've just talked to a lot of filmmakers who their big question is like, how do you make money in film? And it's almost like my friends who, like, we were talking about being in bands. It's like, how do you make money playing in a band anymore? Like, you don't.
Selling T-shirts. That's how you do it.
I know. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. So then you go back to physical, and so like our deal is streaming plus physical, but it's not. I don't know. It's still kind of up in the air, I'd say, right now.
Yeah. But even if it's like a limited release, like boutique kind of release, like I'm sure, like all it's going to take is a few people to see this movie, and they're going to be like, "Oh yeah, I want this. I want a cool release of this." You know.
We had like our buddy like Cal, who was like the production assistant on the film. He was shooting a lot of like really cool behind the scenes footage too. So I know there's going to be like a fun little kind of featurette too.
That's awesome.
So how are you doing, Jenna?
I'm doing good. I'm just listening.
You're very sleepy. You're very sleepy. So Jenna, going back to you, I know like, so this was your first feature. Have you like you've done shorts and stuff like that? Is this the first? I mean, I guess because it's a feature. Have the shorts you've been in like played like festivals or anything, or have you ever been able to see yourself on the big screen?
This was my first time seeing it on the big screen. Yeah, like in an actual theater.
Nice.
Some things I had done before were mostly like student stuff or very small roles and very small things. So this is my first time like really getting to see it become a thing.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. And you know, were you okay seeing yourself on the big screen? Like I'm the kind of guy that I'll just be like, all right, I'm out. See you. I'm here. Bye.
It was scary. But I think that I had seen like, well, John kept sending us like little snippets and we had pretty much seen a lot of it beforehand. I flew to Florida, which is the first film festival that we were at, right? Yeah. And
I felt like it was kind of a disaster because
don't say that. No.
Oh no.
It's whatever.
No, I kind of like rendered the DCP got rendered wrong with like the 5.1 sound. So like I'm watching it and it's just like the quietest sound and I'm just having this 83-minute panic attack as it's and I'm like, oh my God.
That's the thing though, is there like, I'm sure it's because of you made the movie. So it's like, I'm sure people had nothing to do with it would be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like as a musician too, because you were a musician for a long time. Like you're never happy. You're never 100% happy with what you put out. You're always like, oh, I wish I did a different like fill there or whatever.
Right. Oh my God. Oh, totally. Yeah. I think the thing I was always really proud of was, again, going back to the performances. I feel like the actors, like Jenna was amazing in it. I feel like that scene that she does at the end of the film with another character is like one of the most important parts of the film. And I remember early on, I was working with this guy who was going to edit the film and he was bringing money on. And he's like, all right, I know, here's what you're going to do is you're going to get rid of that scene and we'll figure out a way to make it better. I'm like, no, dude. I'm like, how about you go away?
Yeah.
The scene stays. Cause he just wanted to turn it into a grindhouse movie. And I'm like, I don't really care about that. Cause one thing that me and Jenna could talk about, because we spent a lot of time talking about this, was how the film has a lot to do with PTSD and trauma, and literally fight or flight. Because I kind of designed the film to be kind of like a kind of a trilogy in a way, and each film has got a theme based around PTSD. Because I have PTSD. My dad was a paramedic for 35 years. He had PTSD. I taught kids in middle school for 4 years who had emotional disabilities. They all had PTSD, and so it has a lot to do with that. And so like Lexi's character, because of events that happened early on in the film, is basically like in that stage, kind of like the entire movie almost in a way. Yeah. And so it's kind of like, to me, I felt like the reason she kind of almost survives so long as she does is because she's in that state of mind where she's like, boom, I'm like out of here, And so I think that was really interesting.
She's overly cautious.
Yeah, I mean, and it's almost not even that. It's like a physiological response to like things that are happening. Because when you're in that state, like when I used to teach kids, it's like, if they're like triggered, you could throw a book in front of them, like, all right, get your book out, and they would just be like, oh fuck, I'll kill you and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, so that's kind of what I wanted to put in. And Jenna, you can talk to that too if you'd like, but just to like what we were talking about. But yeah.
Definitely Lexi's character is, I feel like there's a lot of you in her, John, of like taking someone who has like survivor's guilt and a lot of guilt from like with the accident with her brother, and I don't know how much I can say, but and just kind of like that. There's a moment at the end with her and Peter, and I feel like that's kind of the main moment where she realizes she's been experiencing this, and that's the moment where she's just like, I can't lose another person.
Yeah.
And that's the moment where she's starting to accept all this. So it's kind of like a story of overcoming survivor's guilt and PTSD wrapped in a horror film.
Yeah. No, I think that's good, because it's just because I kind of shared with Jenna, like kind of some of the stuff I went through, because I was in a relationship with someone who you could consider to have antisocial personality disorder, or they were a sociopath or whatever. And so the things that I saw had a lot to do with like gaslighting and manipulation and triangulation. And, you know, there were some things that were so nuts where like they would have like props in their stories and everything was like pathological lying. And so you kind of lost sight of what was real. And so I think that was kind of, at least in terms of the villain, that's like what we wanted to talk about too. Cause it's like with the person I was with, it wasn't enough for them to like create all these narratives and stuff. It's like they kind of want to destroy you. And so I felt like with Lexi's character, it's not like the villain of the real villain of the film. It's not like they just want to like kill her. It's like they just want to destroy her, you know, especially like when you think about what's happening in that final scene, you know, it's like she's trying to kill her like 3 different ways, you know?
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah. And so, and I think in that scene when Jenna is with this other character, you know, when we were rehearsing that scene, I remember I was like, just like, it's so creepy, you know, to do. But I thought that was kind of great to go into that place. Anyway, I'm talking too much.
No, that's the reason you're
here. You brought up the villain.
Yeah.
Were you the one that came up with the look for the villain, or was that like a committee that not really a committee, but a bunch of people
town vote,
town
hall?
Yeah, we went to the town hall.
No, but I'm just saying.
Yeah,
it reminded me of the Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Yeah,
that kind of look.
Yeah. Well, that was funny because that was actually like for the poster image, like that was kind of like we were just taking a bunch of stills and I was like, oh, that Town That Dreaded Sundown. So like turning to the back, and that was the shot that Creepy Duck used. But I wanted something that was kind of sleek because and I wanted like a skull mask, but it was so hard to find a latex skull mask that looked cool because they always look corny with like smiles and crap. And then I found this like $12 mask online because everything is like $5,000. Like, hey, can you design this mask? That'll be $5,000. I'm like, I don't have $500. So like, and then I bought this mask online for $12 and I did some screen tests in my house where I just put it on. I just, you know, like in like a Halloween when like Michael Myers comes out of the darkness. Right. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, this is it. And then originally I was going to have like a jean jacket, but then that morphed into, I was in the National Guard. And so I just grabbed my field jacket and ripped it up. And that was kind of,
which really worked.
Oh yeah. So.
Yeah, it looked awesome. One thing too with that kind of mask is it's not too like difficult for the actor. You know, like you can almost even still emote a little bit through that because it's just fabric.
Well, that was like, and I think Jenna worked a lot with Luzzo, and so maybe Jen could talk about this too, because like because Luzzo, who plays under the mask, he has or they have a dance background. And I go back to like My Bloody Valentine with Peter Cowper, who played under the mask. And then Richard Brooker, who was like Jason in part 3, there was like this interesting physicality. And I wanted, because the character is a narcissist, I want to feel like the audience can almost feel like they're thinking through all of these things. And so, but I don't know, Jenna, did you want to talk about like working with Luzzo and just some of the things you guys, or y'all?
Well, Luzzo was the fight choreographer, so all of the fighting and everything, that's their work. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say. That was my first time ever doing real fight choreography for a film, so it was pretty intense, and
you couldn't tell.
It was kind of fun.
Just letting you know, it didn't look like your first time. So
well, that's
it looked
good.
very natural.
That's because of Luzzo. It's entirely. But yeah, we spent a lot of time. We actually worked with like the things around us too, which is really cool. We didn't really do any choreography before we got to set. Everything was done like pretty much right before we shot.
Oh wow!
And so like with the cabin scene when the villain comes in and starts hacking away, and that, you know, we just used that space that we had and kind of built that whole scene around it. And there's a moment where I grab a stick and like hit him in the face, and that stick we just literally found on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of things where it was just kind of like working with what we had, where we had. It was really fun.
Yeah,
that's cool. I mean, it seems like, I mean, it is natural, so it comes across more natural, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So Life is Pain is asking where they can find the movie. It's not out yet. Do you know, like, a date wise, like when it may?
I'd say mid-June, I think, because I think originally the distributor was thinking like mid-April, but I'm thinking like it's like too soon. So I would say probably mid-June, I would say. So we're going to Horror Hound in March.
Nice.
And then I think there's a few more festivals we're going to be going to as well. And then waiting to hear back some others. So I would say like mid-June. And I've been trying to get this like a summer drive-in tour, like a road show, going through drive-ins.
Cool.
That would definitely fit right into.
Oh yeah. We did a drive-in locally.
There's a drive-in just.
Wolfie's like, bring it over here.
Oh yeah,
pick me up on the way over. Yeah.
We did a
drive-in just 17 miles up the road from me.
Oh,
17. Really? It's
nice.
Not that.
Yeah, we did one October 13th opposite Halloween Ends, and that was kind of a blast because I feel like drive-ins and slasher movies are just so, you know, they're
hand in hand.
Like, it's like an event and another event, and it's just so much fun, you know.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't know. There's just something about it that is just fun, you know. It's so.
I
most of the drive-ins around here is shut
at a drive-in.
Oh yeah.
Nice. I'm jealous. Yeah. But so most of the drive-ins around here are closed, but there are a few that are still open, and they tend to do that kind of stuff. They do like the special, like just all horror, like night or weekend, whatever. Where it's pretty cool. The Mendon Drive-In. So if you're looking for places, I would recommend the Mendon Drive-In.
One big one in New York. I forget what it's called.
Oh yeah, because I think because New York was kind of like ground zero for the start of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
More of the actually it was more like the Midwest, really.
Yeah. Well, I know like Indiana still has Indiana's got a lot. I think they have like 20. Ohio's got 14. Illinois' got 9. And then I've been doing all this research.
When I was a kid, Washington State, which is where I am, had 36 drive-in theaters.
Huh. Oh wow.
They got
where are you in Washington, by the way? Where are you in Washington State?
Yeah, I'm up by Everett.
Okay, all right. Nice.
Yeah, he's up there. Like if it was daylight, you'd be like outside his window is it's beautiful.
Okay. I've got a buddy who he shot this movie called They Reach, and he's up in Seattle. And I think we got asked to go to some comedy like Bone something or other festival in Seattle. So we'll see. But anyway.
Oh, okay.
The one thing I liked about the movie too is you were talking about it. You know how there's a whole bunch behind all the characters, and character development in here is, you felt for every single, whether it was a good feel or if you liked the character, you wanted to see the other character. Like that was the thing. It went quick too. It wasn't like you had to build like just the way everybody acted. It's like, okay, I like them, I don't like them. Okay,
the dude with the car, who I'm sure Wolfie loves the car. The dude with the car is just like
the 1968 Mustang, dude.
Yeah,
I didn't love him, but that was his character. I didn't love him, but at the same time too, it's just like I didn't want to see any of these people go. Like, so a lot of times they overdo it, where it's just like this person is just obnoxious, and I just can't wait for them to die. So. Well, that was different too.
Yeah. Well, I know like with Jenna and Charlie, who plays Mike, I don't know, Jenna, if you want to talk about how I found you guys, because that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Well, a lot of the main cast are actually acting alum from UIUC, which is the school I went to. And Charlie, who is one of the camp counselors, can I do spoilers?
Maybe not yet.
not too much.
Okay. But anyway, our final scene for acting was together, and that's how you cast us. Was you saw it and you're like, that's the dynamic I'm looking for.
Yeah, because you were doing a scene from Little Women, I remember, and I loved the back and forth between the two of you, and Charlie I thought was just great, and so it was exciting to have you all on there, and just really cool. So, because I think like I was saying, like with the horror films, especially slashers, I'm always like, really? Oh, okay, this person, I can't wait for them to die.
Right.
Because
it wasn't that.
I play that game every time I watch a horror. Every time.
Just try to pick who goes first. Yeah.
Film. You stop the movie. Once they introduce everybody, you stop the movie and you go, okay, who's going to die first?
Yeah.
Because if you haven't watched it, it's just like, okay. And
Right.
That's the thing is
nine
most of the
times
time
out
you're
of
right.
10,
Yeah, most of the time you're right.
Well-
It's because I mean, even though there's like a lot of like really good independent horror out there, I mean, there's a kind of like almost a cookie cutter sometimes when it comes to certain things. That doesn't mean the movie's
Very true.
bad.
Right.
Yeah, but
No,
and just real quick, the Life in Pain person, this is cool. They're from Scotland, and they're saying that
Oh,
the
wow.
movie sounds amazing. Cannot wait to watch it. I'm a
Cool.
huge horror fan from Scotland,
Nice.
so that's awesome. I like
I should
talking to
play
people from other
the
countries.
trailer.
I'm gonna play the trailer. I'm gonna do that right now, actually, because Sergio's been asking for the trailer as well. So Sergio, here we go. Here's the Final Summer official festival trailer. Hopefully that was the right one I pulled.
Yep.
But we'll be back in 1 minute and 9 seconds.
Back in 1978, there was a terrible fire here. Some kid left a campfire alone. Winds picked up, and it started to grow. The fire spread through the forest, burning everything in its path. They dug into the ground as their last hope. One of the rangers, a man named Warren Copper, started chopping a tree, trying to start a fire line. After the fire passed, all they could find was Warren's charred skeleton. Years later, locals claimed to see this strange figure with a skull for a head, carrying an axe, guarding the woods in the middle of the night. You better run, because Warren Copper will come for you.
Yo.
There's that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's really cool. Every once in a while there's a movie that we get that I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get this the second it's available. Sometimes it's just like, all right, I'll back it for a little bit, and then we'll do that. But,
The one thing I must say is sometimes we have people on and just for the placement and the location of the movie. How big was because this camp looks like it was like humongous. Like how big was it? Because just all the different places that you went to, I'm like, because sometimes it's like, oh, where'd you film this? Oh, we filmed this in 2 rooms, and it was one house, and it was like, okay, this area looks like it was gigantic. Like,
It was
how big
huge.
was it?
It was really big. Yeah. I remember the first day of filming, you guys had to go, you walked like 2 miles, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, to go to the specific location. You guys hiked through the woods with all the gear.
Oh my God. Yeah. Because we had to go across, that suspension bridge that he goes on. We had to go through both bridges, across the river, down a ways, because there was like no real direct roads to any of these places, because it's kind of the Boy Scout camp was kind of isolated. And so then the night shoot for when we do the bridge at night, we were like literally like carrying like generators and stuff through the forest down there. It was insane. I remember, because it's just like one of those things where you don't really think about the scale of it till you're there. And so like the first night shoot we did, because we would do like 8 to 8s, and then we were doing like splits of 2 to 2, and then the rest of it was 6 to 6. And it was like that first split, we were like, oh my God, this is insanely, because you think it's one camp, it's really like 85 different locations, And so I think as we got through it, I think that we started to be smarter about like, okay, we're going to set our lineup of lighting and to shoot here, and then we're just going to flip our, just pan our heads, our lamps like this way. And now this is another, because it was just killing us really to like, I'm sure Jenna, I remember like you all sometimes like, I'm just going to go to sleep.
By the end of it, I was used to it, and then I had to get unused to it.
Yeah.
But it was like
that can cause problems for sure.
Yeah.
How long did it take you guys to film it?
I think we were there for about 3 weeks. I feel like we were there I think there was a couple days of prep, and then I feel like it was like 4 on, 1 day off, 5 on, 1 day off, 4 on. So I think we were shooting pretty consistent for about 13 or 14 days. And then there was probably about 6 more days of pickups after that. But
so every time you guys needed to go home for something, you had to hike. That's crazy. I was going to say, like, because people that are watching and like people that'll be listening to this when it comes out on the audio side, if you thought that making movies was glamorous, I have a couple people right here that can tell you different.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
we
being in a
stayed
rock
in the
band.
cabins on the camp.
Oh yeah.
That was our those were our trailers. We stayed in the cabins, and that was probably more memorable than anything else.
Yeah. It was kind of cool because I remember it was like a couple days before we the actors kind of stayed in like some nicer places, and we stayed in this like crew area where it's like 13 cabins in a circle, and that smelled like just foul BO, and there were like dead snake skins and rats, and it was horrible spiders. I think we spent 2 days vacuuming spiders, and
oh my god,
spiders were like mass. They were like that big, So,
I'm not a spider guy. I would have tried and wet myself.
Yeah.
Oof. It's
it was kind of cool for me because I felt like I had studied a bunch of I'd studied like the productions of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Night of the Living Dead, and even like the first Friday. And so I kind of felt like, this is cool to feel like this is maybe what they were going through too.
Yeah. Whenever I've met anyone from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they just talk about how unpleasant that whole experience was.
Oh my god. Yeah. Did you ever meet John Dugan at all?
Yeah, he offended me right away. He right away offended me completely, and then tried to apologize. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I came here to meet you, so I guess I'm done, right?
Yeah.
We had a movie on a couple weeks back where he was in it, and I was talking to the people that made the movie afterwards. I'm like, I was all excited about meeting him, and then right away, I was just like, wow, okay, cool. But Gunner was awesome. That was at Gunner's last con he ever did.
Okay.
I got this giant Leatherface traditional tattoo.
Oh, nice. Sweet.
The day before.
Yeah.
I met him, and then I had the dumb idea of telling my friend who was there, who was a director, that I had got a brand new tattoo. So every single time I walked by, he just slapped me in the arm. Friends suck. Let's keep that in mind. Don't have friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's a growing thing too, right? So you probably got to figure out, okay, if we do this again, maybe we could have done this a little different. Like with, I don't mean like the movie wise. I mean like maybe the that part of it, like the spiders and all that crap.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it was good because I felt like it helped us all kind of bond, and I think the cool thing was in some of the cast, and Jenna, you can talk about this too, is like we would do kind of like, we were very specific in terms of like our shoot schedule. And so then over time, I think just it allowed the cast to kind of get to be more familiar with each other, for even the ones that, didn't know each other as well. So I don't know, Jenna, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, we were all pretty lucky that the main counselors, we got along really well. And by the end of it, we all were kind of bonded because we're all spending like 3 weeks in the middle of the woods together, like working 12-hour days in the middle of the night. You get kind of loopy, but it was very much a bonding experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wish I had that. I mean, that's something like, as musicians or whatever, like you have bonding experience, but nothing like that. Just sitting in a car for way too long is a bonding experience, I guess. But
2 months at a time, like $5 a day. You're like, all right, I'm gonna go tour with you. That was like if you go on tour with another band, you'd always they'd come over to you guys, and then one of you guys would go over there, and they would just bitch about their bandmates, and vice versa. And
it's like high school.
Oh yeah, and it's like it was always like the one guy, the one odd person out, So like everybody's hating them for like 2 days, and then it would switch up, and everybody hate that guy for a little. I don't know, just random.
I think I was normally the guy everyone hated.
Oh yeah,
normally. Well, this is because I don't know. I joke around a lot, and then when I get serious, I get very serious, like almost to a fault. Where people are like, all right, dude, calm down. I'm like, sorry.
Well, I guess that works too. Like we're like rooming with each other or being in camp, like the bunks together. Because we mention it a lot of the times where you could just tell the chemistry that you have on film. So being together and learning each other and working off each other is you could see it through this, as opposed to, okay, we're gonna stay, one actor is going to stay in one house, and you don't get that camaraderie or like even get to know each other, and it just shows. It's like, okay, I don't think they know each other from yesterday or whatever.
Right. and I think that's a lot of like I can always tell that too when you're watching horror movies. You're like, yeah, these people don't seem like friends at all, you know?
Yeah. They actually seem like they actually really hate each other. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I've seen them act. They're not that good. There's no way that they're going to act that they hate that person that much, unless they really do.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
Brother Max is saying, "Give me the trailer."
What? On what?
Brother Max is saying, "Give me the trailer."
We already showed it.
You can Google it on YouTube and
yeah, we already showed it. I think he said that while we were playing the trailer.
Oh, copy.
Yeah. I think it was. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Okay. But I didn't realize that was Brother Max. What's up, Brother Max?
Yeah.
So what else do you guys have like in the works? Like, are you guys John, are you still doing music? Like, are you still doing that kind of stuff? Or
yeah. So still playing music every now and then. It's just been a while, but then I kind of ended up doing a lot of music for this film actually, because one of my friends was going to do the music for the film, and then he gave me like 3.5 minute songs. I'm like, okay, I need about 80 more minutes of music. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'm good, because it was one of those things where, like, you know, no one is. I always say this. I was saying this earlier today, but like, no one cares about your film as much as you do, and so, you know. Like I went to so many people like, hey, can you help us out with this? And people would like promise things and just never show up. And so if you want to get it done, it's like, you got to do it no matter what. And so it was like, all right, well, I guess I'll write music for it now. And it was interesting. I mean, because originally I think I was planning more like a shoegaze vibe, because there's this band called Slow Dive that I really love. And they have this song called Souvlaki Space Station. And when I heard the song, it reminded me so much of like the Friday the 13th, like Henry Man, you know, like that kind of, because the guitars are kind of doing that. And so I was like, so going back to like, when you think about when the film is just an idea, I had two ideas. One was like a girl kind of drifting through the frame in a canoe, clutching an axe, and followed by like a river of blood. And so that's what we did for the original sizzle reel trailer. And the second was the music from that Slow Dive song, because it was so kind of atmospheric and lush and kind of dark, and I was like, and it had this cool mystery to it, and I felt like that's kind of the vibe, because you know, you say like, I think that was when I was trying, because Jenna was that's when I met Jenna, was when we did the sizzle reel trailer like a year before we even shot the film, because it's like when you say like slasher movie, that's anything from, you know,
could be anything from an amazing slasher movie to like Student Bodies. It could just be like a cheese fest. Yeah.
I don't know, Jenna. I don't know. What did you think, Jenna? Just that's kind of open-ended question there, but I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think about everything?
About what specifically?
No, just the process. I think, you know, just from because I remember there's a scene in the movie that I thought was kind of crucial too, to like the Wyatt or to the Peter and Lexi character, is that scene when they're walking in the forest. You know, so I don't know. We had kind of had fun walking and kind of doing that scene a few times. So I don't know if you want to talk about some of the chemistry of the actors or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know that you put a lot of thought into who was playing who, you know, and not just like who was playing the character, but how we meshed together, and you had like chemistry reads, and it was, I think, really helpful, because there was someone else that you were considering for the role of Peter, and you were like, it's not, you know, he's not quite right. You need someone that's just a little bit more like that dynamic that you're going for with Lexi and Peter, of the kind of like little puppy dog.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I always thought like, it's so funny, because I felt like the audience, as an audience, like when you're writing characters, I feel like, okay, there's two characters that I feel like are the audience, like Peter's one, and I felt like Mario is kind of like the other kind of audience character, where it's like, and Peter's like never cool, like he could never be cool, and so, but I kind of like find that so endearing, versus like some of these some of these slasher movies, like the characters are all cool or they're tough or whatever, like that's just not, I don't relate to that, you know.
Yeah.
And so I wanted someone who's kind of like a dork, who's just like kind of endearing, but also kind of comes of age through the films, because I think originally we shot the ending twice, because it was so impossible to get a hospital location because of COVID. So no one was going to do it. So basically, when we originally shot the ending, we had a building and that was like on 2 floors. And so like when she's in the hallway or in the room, it's like on the 2nd floor of the building. And then when they're in this hallway, they're on like the 1st floor. But then this guy came out. He's like, y'all got 45 minutes to shoot this. So I was like running, trying to shoot 5 pages. And I had literally like, there was no like hospital room in there, you know, so I had to bring all this crap in and make a bed and all this stuff. And so when you see her talking to Warren Copper, that's from like the first shoot. And then the second one, we actually, there was like this other buildings in town that actually had like 2 hospital wings. And so that's where, and that was shot like a couple months later.
Oh, wow.
But it was just, yeah. So it's just, yeah, right.
Yeah, that whole ending conversation was shot like months apart.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was kind of great too, because I feel like it's funny because like when Lexi says her brother's name at the very end, I felt like, remember we were talking about this. I'm like I don't know how to describe it even. I don't know if you want to talk about that. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something that you're going for in the very ending of it, of some sort of release. Like there's this tension throughout the entire film and just kind of like allowing yourself to not feel guilty for the things that happened in your past. And that's kind of what you're going for, is you just want that moment of like the final release of tension. And that was, I feel like, the note that you gave me. And that's part of the reason why we ended up reshooting it.
Yeah. And it was just great. And I think, and part of that, there's even some other pieces that kind of worked even better now. Cause I felt like before we were going to kind of make Peter's character be kind of like this potential love interest of her. And then Moose was going to come out at the end. Like Moose was actually in the final scene, but then he couldn't be there for when we reshot it. And if you're going to look at him, it would look like he was like in another movie. So I had to unfortunately cut that. But there was a great moment between like Lexi and Peter where originally it was going to be like maybe he was going to have a love interest, but now it's like I felt like they were seeing each other both as survivors. And it was kind of cool to see that Peter's actually matured through it too. And so he's not, so that I think that just sometimes those things, those second chances you get at doing scenes really helps, you know. And even with like the way that Jenna said the final line was like so good, I was like, that's exactly it, you know. And I was like, I don't even know how to say the thing. Like, I think you just have to, and then
just do it. Yeah.
She did write it down. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's
perfect. Yeah.
Totally.
I was looking for.
Yeah. Life is Pain has another question. Then we have to start wrapping things up. But how long did it take you to write the movie script and come up with the concept? And what gave you the idea to include your son in this film?
Oh yeah. That took me about, I actually did like 19 drafts of the script.
Oh, wow.
I wrote it, started in the fall of 2019. And kind of what I like to do is I'll do like a story clock, you know, so where I like to talk my movie out forever, and then I'll start to get the structure down. So I do like a story clock kind of thing where you're charting the beats of your film. And I would study other films too. And then from that, I did the Spike Lee's like 300 note card kind of thing. So I would, you know, like I had like, there's like a picture of like the whole film laid out in note cards on my floor, and then starting to do that. But it was like 19 drafts. And then I would, you know, get feedback and then go back and rewrite and all that. But yeah. And then what was the other question? Sorry.
Oh, was what gave you the idea to put your son in the film?
Oh, I think, well, one, it was COVID, so it was really tough to find kids, you know, you know, because originally like the opening scene was like I had to cut 10 pages of the opening of the script, because it's actually like Lexi and another character are walking around through the forest. So it's like you would have seen Lexi earlier on as like kind of normal, and then the situation that happens. But it was because of kids weren't able to be vaccinated. I'm like, I didn't want to put that situation together. I worked on some other like COVID, you know, protocol films. And so just in the interest of safety, because like we didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't want to risk having it where someone gets sick and then we just can't do it. Like we wouldn't have been able to recover at all. Like we had like these equity investors try to rip us off like 4 days from the film. So I had to turn down like $50,000 because they were going to basically steal the film from us. And they pulled that like 4 days before we went to production. and they're basically going to just rip off the film. And then the most insane thing was like later, like a couple of weeks ago, I found some article some friend sent that this guy who was trying to steal our film had actually like ripped off seniors' retirement funds of like
Jesus Christ,
$67 million. Like, this was crazy.
what a shitbag! I'm sorry.
And that's the thing that people like. Whenever people watch like movies, like big budget movies are one thing, but like independent films, like people have no idea what goes on behind closed doors, and it's just like you realize that sometimes it's what they have and what they time runs out or whatever, money runs out, and they put out what they can. But it's crazy how many times we've heard like horror stories from different people that like crunch time something happens or someone quits, or it's just like it's crazy.
Yeah, because we literally, like, it was Friday, they sent me all this paperwork. I'm like, I cannot sign this. This is basically just transferring all the copyright to them, and they were lying about it, like this, it was a completion bond, and I was like, go to hell. And so that night we did an emergency meeting with all the cast and the crew, and I was like, hey, this just happened, can we afford to make this film? I'm gonna pay everybody, but it's gonna take a little bit longer than right now. So everybody's like, let's just do it. So we did it, and we had this $16,000 Kickstarter that thankfully, like, we came in. I was like begging my friends, like, please help. And then I had like 4 5K investors, and then one of the guys who was kind of the executive producer, he was running around behind the scenes. I shot a lot of commercials for him, and he was going around getting more money for us. And so this was all kind of happening. So like we rolled into this under like insane stress. I was stressed out. I was kind of a nightmare for a couple of days, but I think that was just one of those things where I remember a couple of days where I was like, hey guys, like someone tried to steal this film. Isn't that cool that we're working on this film that someone cared enough to rip us off, And,
yeah.
And I think it just goes sorry, you're saying.
Oh, I was going to say, well, when the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, the people that distributed it, put the distribution out for it, were in the mob. They were part of the New York Mafia.
Yeah.
So if you can find an original poster with, I don't remember what the name of it is, but their production company on it, that thing's worth bank. I mean, serious bank.
Yeah.
But it's really weird.
It's crazy that you guys have to go through that kind of stuff.
I've been basically taking on like side gigs and extra commercial shoots just to like continue to pay everybody off, because I think the issue, of course, is like, let's say you get distribution, based on some of the deals, you might get like they'll give you like a $3,000 minimum guarantee, but that might be the only money you ever see. So it's like, okay, well, I don't want to get to that point where it's like let's say I was never paying anybody back, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, reality hits. I'm like, hey guys, remember all that money I'm never going to be able to pay you?
Yeah. So
I've been chipping away at that, and so I got down about $10,000 right now left, but it's exciting. I mean, thank God for the cast and crew and all the actors and everybody for just staying the course, because it's like, I mean, it was a tough position to put anybody in, and I don't want to put people in that. I felt really bad about that, but I just appreciate everybody stayed with it, and it didn't get any easier, but like,
but the final product came out great. So
I was going to say, once it's actually like available for people to buy and watch, I'm sure going forward, you may be able to go a little bit, further, like with investors that are not scumbags.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of that recently, like with Terrifier 2, like doing so well. Yeah. And even Skinamarink cost like, I think $15,000 to make.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like now's the time, right now with independent film. Doesn't necessarily mean just independent horror, just independent film in general. Independent film is what's doing different than Hollywood for the most part.
Well, I just want to say, because like with Jen, because I usually end up doing a lot of these, like, and I love to get Jenna, talk more on.
Yeah.
To me, it's like I'm so proud of like what the cast have done and what the crew have done. And I remember one night the crew went out for like a dinner at this like Pink Pig, like this barbecue joint in the middle of nowhere. And I remember we walked in there, and the wait staff are like, y'all family. And I thought that was so cool to me, because it's like, we are kind of in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jenna, if you want to talk about like kind of the bonds that you guys had as actors. And
Yeah, I mean, definitely after the whole experience of everything, we got very close. But I also think it helped. I went to school with a couple of the main cast, so I knew them for 4 years before we even shot the film. So, yeah, it was cool to see how close the crew got. Like everyone had nicknames.
Oh yeah.
Were they offensive or were they funny?
No, like they were nicknames for what they typically did, like wedges.
Oh.
Wedges for putting out the camera.
Right. Or
50 cal.
Walkie check Chad because his walkie would never work. So we were like, "Have you checked your walkie?" He's like, "I can't," And so it's just ridiculous, fun things like It's just I think that's where like you go through an experience like that, and I feel like now that I've worked on several films since then with other guys who were on the set, it's cool to see them grow on because that was for most people it was like their first film they were ever on, and most of the crew kind of came out of this like indie like workshop that I did in the back of the studio in town, and so it was a lot of like college and like kind of post college like just kids or whatever, and so that was really cool to feel like all of us who have like no real set experience. I think I was on a bunch of films before that, but it was just cool to see that we all came together and managed to pull off this insane miracle.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't seem like it where it would be the first. It's like a polished thing where it looks like you've been doing it for a while. So Jenna, I think getting roles won't be that difficult from now here on.
No, as long as you're good doing horror. I mean, but I mean, it seems like you can obviously do a lot more. But you definitely had some range there for sure. Yeah, but Wolfie, you were trying to say something.
So there's one thing I wanted to ask. It's about. So when I was watching this movie, I noticed that there's a lot of musical references. Right. And I'm like, okay, so the person that wrote this is into music because you got the Smashing Pumpkins shirt. But was there a reason for August 16th, 1991?
I think there was. I'm trying to remember what the deal was with it. I'm trying to remember because there's references to Nirvana's Nevermind and like visual references.
Yeah, but that didn't come out for like.
That was in 91.
That didn't come out till like September.
Right. But yeah, who cares?
Wolfie cares. Wolfie, let me just explain. Wolfie be like, this movie takes place this year. The car that was in this scene didn't come out until 4 months after this movie took place. This is BS. It's just like, simmer down, Wolfie.
I'm totally the same way. And then I'm like, but ignoring the fact that there's also dinosaurs in the movie. And you're like, wait a second. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That car's ridiculous. Dinosaurs, on the other hand, spot on. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it's just August 16th. It was the 22nd anniversary of Woodstock, and it's also the day that Elvis Presley died.
Huh. I guess that was not on my mind. Yeah. So
you have
so I was like, I'm like, oh wow, Woodstock, Elvis, Smashing Pumpkins. This guy's like into music,
Right. Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, he is.
Oh yeah. No, the Pumpkins was because I worked with the Pumpkins a couple times. And then Jeff, who did our final song, he plays in the Pumpkins, and so I shot a music video for him he had a band called Night Dreamer that we shot at like an abandoned Air Force base, and so originally he was going to do Shadows in the Night, the Pat Benatar song as a cover, but we just ran out of money. But he had the taste, which I love because I always loved like going back to like Dawkins' Dream Warriors or Alice Cooper's like Man Behind the Mask. Like I wanted that song, for the end of the film, and I loved his song, and he was a buddy and was like, here, you can take the song. So I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. And I have the video. I was going to play it at the very end. I was going to play it. Sure. Yeah. So, but speaking of the very end, we do have to wrap things up. Okay. So first, because we haven't talked about that much, because we can't see you, Jenna. That's the reason why. If your face was there, we would have been like, oh, there's Jenna. But so what else do you have in the works? Like, do you have any projects that you're working on or anything that people can see you in possibly? And also if you have any social media where people can follow you to keep up on stuff.
Yeah. So the main project I'm working on 2 projects right now. I shot a short film over summer that's still, I directed it.
Nice.
And I'm still finishing up editing, but it's kind of a sci-fi thriller, micro short film. And then that one, it's far from being done, but it's called the Turing test. That gives any indication of what it's about. And then I'm working on a short film right now that we haven't shot yet, but I'm co-writing it with the director, and we're looking to shoot in April, but it's kind of like a hyper-realism drama.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
And it's social media. Do you have anywhere where people can keep track, like where you post about like your projects and stuff?
Yeah, mostly I just use Instagram. My Instagram is at jen.kohn, but I'm sure if you look up Jenna Kohn, it'll pop up.
Nice. And John, what about yourself? Like, do you have anything else in the works? I mean, it seems like you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
You do like commercial stuff and videos and what have you.
Yeah, I just shot like a sock puppet short film yesterday with like Mark Roberts, who was like the writer for 2.5 Men, and it was like sock puppets, but like Midnight Cowboy style, So
wow,
really,
that's weird.
Bizarre,
well, puppets are where it's at. Puppets are where it's at. Sean Whalen has been promoting like a new movie he's doing called Crust, and there's puppets involved in that.
Oh yeah,
in a laundromat. Yeah, it should be fun. But yeah, so you got that stuff going on, and same deal. Like, where can people follow you for more updates on like release dates and stuff?
So yeah, we're Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. It's Final Summer Movie, and then working on basically. Plans for a sequel. So if this does connect with an audience, I want to take all the lessons I've learned on this one, go to the sequel, and I'm really excited about that because like Tom Matthews is coming back in a bigger way, and then there's a couple other actors I talked to that are pretty well-known horror actors too. So I think it'll be fun to kind of take it away from the camp, go into the town, and some other stuff too. But yeah.
As long as you don't take it to space or Manhattan, we'll be good.
That's the 5th sequel.
Did you guys see Jason
once
X?
you take it to space,
I always love
Jason X. Yeah.
Once you take it to space, it's no longer a horror movie; it's a sci-fi film.
Right. Yeah.
Technically, you're right. Yeah.
I just watched Jason 10 not that long ago, and I'm like, what in that? Like
why? Why am I doing this to myself again? Yeah. But I think Leprechaun went to space as well.
Pinhead and Jason.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, whatever. So, Wolfie, it's been a while since we've had you on. So, where can people go follow you?
You can find me in the same places as always. You can catch me on YouTube, The 13th Wolfman, Twitter at The 13th Wolfman, Tumblr, 13 Wolfman The Prowl. And I'm trying to put something new up all the time, but kind of like taking a little time off. Tony, what about yourself?
You can find me at Tony Has 9 Fingers on YouTube, where I do movie reviews, unboxings, anything movie related. You'll find me there. Tony Has 9 Fingers on Twitter. Tony Has 9 Fingers on TikTok, which is my fastest growing like social media. So I
always ask you, but what are you up to this week?
It's almost 21,000. So
there you go.
Close. So
nice.
There, Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies.
Oh, that's
behind
working.
me.
He does on there, man.
No, you'd be surprised. Like I come past like by his lives every once in a while, and there's just people like shooting names at him like crazy. Everyone loves it. It's cool. But he also twerks. You're right. He does that too.
And then of course, find us here every Tuesday night, 9
most
p.m.
Tuesday nights.
Most Tuesday nights. Whether we have awesome guests or just a horror movie talk, definitely check out the live. It's ask questions. You get to see the awesome trailers and a music video that Kevin will probably play at the end of this.
I will.
And definitely check us out or listen to us, but definitely tune into the Wicked Horror Show.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you can just, for me, besides here, I also am part of Black and White Fright. And now I'm a new co-host on That Strange Show. So go check out those in all their respected areas. And I think that's about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Before we go, real quick, is that boombox behind you the boombox from the movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's actually it's the same one that Johnny Depp had in Nightmare on Elm Street. Not the same one, but
I was gonna say, huh? Like,
no, that was my little like nod to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nice, cool. I just needed to ask that. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on, guys. I'm gonna play the video for Night Dreamer, The Taste, and then the stream will end. So thanks again, guys, and congrats on an awesome movie. Thanks for talking to us, Jenna.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So you guys don't have to stick around. I'm gonna play the video. You guys can take off if you'd like. And Tony and Wolfie, if you want to stick around, it'll just be a minute. And have a good night, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.
I called out your name to taste a part of you, then heard like a fool and burned my tongue too soon. This shark's craving black, so let's kick at